Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Second Cup of Coffee. Pastor Tom here with you. We're starting a new series here in February called Hearing from God. Hearing from God. We're encasing this around the heart of God. You want to know the heart of God, not just the words of God. And we're going to go over this for the next 3 weeks because sometimes the words of God and the heart of God, I mean, if I don't understand the heart of God, I won't understand the words of God. And so there's a relational aspect of hearing from God, particularly if you're going to speak from God, for God. 1 Corinthians 14 says, 14:1, desire spiritual gifts, but especially that you may prophesy. So you may have a desire to prophesy, not a bad desire. Biblically, you're allowed to have that. I want to kind of walk through over the next 3 weeks, not why you have the desire, but if you have the desire, what you may need to get started. And the number one thing that you have to keep in mind is if I'm communicating the words of God, I have to know the heart of God. That doesn't mean I have an understanding. There's things that I have been told to prophesy into people's lives that I didn't have an understanding of, but I hope that I had the heart of God in delivering it. Because I'm not responsible for the words, but I think I am responsible for my end of the relationship with God so that I understand, at least I have a partial understanding of His heart in the situation, even if I don't have the full scope of the understanding, because oftentimes I won't. How do I get that? Number one, you have to know the voice. If you're going to speak for God, you have to know His voice. The voice is described in John 10:27. He said, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." Number one, I have to be a sheep. That means I have to be surrendered to Him. Number two, I have to have not just listening, but hearing, two different things, right? I can listen to what my wife says, but I may not hear her heart, right? I have to listen and hear. And then I have to know God. What does it mean? There's a relationship there, okay? So what's number one? I got to be surrendered. I'm a sheep. Number two, I got to listen and hear. Not just listen, but hear. Number three, I have to know Him. So I have to be working and building the relationship, I would say daily. And number four, follow me. I have to be obedient. Those things have to be aligned in your life for you to be effective as a voice in other people's lives. I know some people who have varying degrees of these things operating, and you have to understand you may have been touched by those people in a positive way or a negative way. You may have been that person in a positive way or a negative way. But there is a reality of me being responsible before God for my gifting, because He won't take my gifting away just because I'm not walking fully in John 10:27, in my surrender, in my hearing, in my relationship, or in my obedience. So if you're desiring to prophesy, you've read 1 Corinthians 14:1, you're desiring to prophesy, and then go back to John 10:27, mark out those 4 things I just gave you and say, God, help me grow in these things. If you want to summarize it all up to one word, it's love. All you have to do is flip back to 1 Corinthians 13, where Paul says, well, even the end of 12, these are the gifts, but I show you a more perfect way. And he gives a whole chapter on love, right? And what love really is. That's got to be the baseline of where you're coming from, but not just your love for people or your love for your gifting. That's a dangerous place to start, but your love for Jesus Christ as you're in the relationship you're growing in. And it will help you grow into the fullness of the gifting that He's given you. So some of this may be practical, some of it may be spiritual over the next couple of weeks. If you know somebody that desires or is prophetic or maybe struggling with how to get started or where am I at in that process, do I really hear God? Share this with them. Invite them along this journey for the next 4 weeks as we walk through it, or next additional 3 weeks as we walk through it. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on our app and on YouTube. Subscribe. Share it if it means something to you. We love you and God bless you.